Ta-da! Pardon me. Welcome to Fieros Reborn. Fieros' story time on Fieros Reborn. Fieros. You can't fire me. I quit. Man, it smells like burgers. Hello. Namaste. I refuse to say namaste. Namaste. And mean it. I just refused. Apparently it means I salute the god or goddess in you. Bollocks to that. No, I do not. I do not salute it. Sorry. I can't be bothered with it. Why do you need to go around doing that? Deepak Chopra advises it to say namaste, at least in your head, and to silently bless every person there. Oh, fuck that shit, man. Like, how much effort that is. It's hard enough to remember my name every time I meet someone else. Every time you meet a new person. What's my name again? Ross. Fieros. Someone. Do I have a name? Who does this person know me as? Yeah. Hello, welcome back. I know I haven't been here for a while, which by my standards is 2 days. Yeah. Remember, we are going to be shutting down productions sooner or later. And that's where we're going. The death of the channel. Again, the death of Fieros. But that is because Fieros is a phoenix bird. Fieros is a rejuvenating spirit. So Fieros needs to turn to ash and dust and rest for a while, and then Fieros will be reborn in his flames. Yeah, see, it makes a total sense. The name even makes sense. Right, so this is the channel. We're going to do a bit of Fieros' story time. I feel like I want to update you on present life circumstances before I start delving into the past again. So basically, a really important thing has happened today. And it's not something that's just happened. It's something that I decided to do, and it's going to sound ridiculous now that I've picked it up. I've got a new hard drive in my laptop, and that's the big thing. And the big thing about it is it's a silent hard drive. It's one of these SSD, solid state discs, right? And you should have heard the previous laptop that was in there. It was like a Ford Ford Model T Ford. It was like a Model T Ford inside my laptop. It was like it wouldn't stop. It didn't. Most laptops and computers, they go brrr, 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 and they chill out for a bit, right? But this one was just constantly. And it was just constant. It never stopped. It was always thinking about something. It's a perfect metaphor. It's a perfect metaphor for the mind, right? Because this is how most people live. So this is an awesome teaching tool that this laptop has given me. So the laptop, for a period since I got it, right? Since I got the laptop, which was last year, I suppose. Yeah, fucking hell. Or maybe it was early this year. It was like after Christmas this year. So yeah, so it's the whole of this year. I've had this laptop. And it's been shit the whole time I've had it. Basically, it's been terrible. One, because of the noise, but that wasn't really an issue. But the noise was being generated because the hard disk itself was slow, clunky, rubbish. The reason it was always thinking about stuff was because it obviously didn't know how to think. It's going like, hold on a minute, I've got to do this over here, and then I've got to do this over here, I've got to do this over here, and it's like, it was rubbish. It's so rubbish. Yeah. So it made the whole laptop experience terrible. I mean, if I could remember the name of it, which I can't, but it's an HP laptop. It was at the low end of the market. It was like 300 quid when I got it, or maybe it was down from 300 to 279, something like that. And I thought, wicked, you know, even the crappy laptops these days are still better than they used to be 10 years ago. So this laptop should be fine. I know it's the low end, but you know, every laptop these days has got pretty decent hardware inside it comparative to 10 years ago. So it's got to be reasonably good. Surely it can handle word processing. Could it fuck? Could it fuck? It couldn't even handle just... I could type quicker than it could think, which was so stupid. I'm typing along, and then it's going, hold on a minute, I'll do it. What did you say? I didn't catch that last bit. Can you type it again? And it's like, the cursor just freezes, and I'm going, you know, and as an author, it's not very good. It's not very helpful. It's not a smooth writing experience for the thing to be going, huh? It's like the worst listener ever, the laptop. So I'm typing away, and it's like, huh? Oh, no, I don't know. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that, and then it just doesn't like register it. So that's annoying. It was annoying, sorry. And so I put in a new SSD drive, disk drive, new fucking drive in there, and it's one of these new ones that's slow, and by slow I mean fast. It's quiet. It's like silent. It is actually silent. So to compare the two, as I say, it's like you got the old Model T Ford. What? And it's like the terrible hard drive just kicking up a stink. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't use internet very well because it'd take fucking ages to load anything as well. Forget about doing anything on that laptop, basically. It was a pile of shit. The best thing, all I could do was word process on it, and as I say, badly and slowly and with a lot of grunting on the laptop's part and also on my part, as there was occasions where I just wanted to lift the thing up and go bang, bang, you fucking laptop, this is the 5th time you've frozen, fucking hell, motherfucker, just chuck it across the room. Well, obviously I didn't do that because then I would be really fucked, so I persevered with it. And then my dad the other day mentioned this new SSD thing, and he said that it improved his laptop speed like loads, and I went, yeah, that's a good idea. And I tried to do some jiggery pokery with it using this hard drive instead of buying an SSD one, because I had this lying around, we hadn't used it. I might just use this as an external one. Yeah, anyway, and that didn't work for some reason. I couldn't get that to work properly, but I've put the SD card in there, and now it's silent. It's silent. It's so quiet. It's just so perfect. Like, and you don't realise how noisy the thing was. I mean, I knew it was noisy, but compared to the silent one, as I say, Model T Ford, and then you got one of those new hydrogen gas cars. is the comparison. Yeah. So it's really, really nice. And the thing about it is it's not just the laptop that's nicer and smoother now. It's like the whole atmosphere in my room is suddenly like, huh, there's no grunty, annoying noise in the background anymore. So the whole room is just like nice. It's really created a very sort of smooth feeling in the atmosphere. Because I think the last hard disk had emotional problems, man. As I say, going back to the metaphor thing, it's a perfect metaphor for the mind and the emotions, because a lot of our minds are just constantly jabbering, thinking about stuff, right? And so when I put the new card in, the new drive in, it's like everything is being done the same. In fact, it's being done better, and there's just not the mental noise that the old one had. So if you say like, the old hard drive was making a lot of noise. It was slow. It was clunky. It was irritating everyone around it. Yeah, that's like a person with a loud, annoying mind full of thoughts, always thinking all the time, lots of inner dialogue going on, and resentments and grievances and complaining and whining and neediness and stuff, and fearful thoughts, and just a whole mess in the brain space. Yeah. And then you put the silent one in, which is pretty much like what my mind is most of the time now. It's like the silent one. And it's like, oh, but everything else is the same. You see, that's the thing that we don't, I think what we get a bit scared that if our mind goes quiet, then we're going to die or something, or we're going to ruin our life, or we can't live normally anymore. But it's not the case. All the quietening of the mind does is everything else stays the same. In fact, everything gets slightly better because you don't have so much annoying noise going on in your head. I mean, and everything's just nicer that way. So if imagine you go to the shops, right, and you've got this annoying, loud, obnoxious mind in your head that's always commenting on everything and thinking about 10 million things at once. Blah, I've got to do this. Oh, I've got these problems. Oh, what they said to me, and oh, am I going to have enough money for it? And oh, what about that person over there? And oh, I just can't wait to get home, or whatever it is. You know, everyone has a different stream of internal dialogues. Some people aren't even really aware of that. They're just aware of the fact that their mind won't be quiet. Their mind is always thinking of something, and just aware of a nagging sense in their mind at all times of some feeling of negativity in the mind, like or just like, or sometimes even the reverse is people are into a full sense of pleasure. Quite often they're in happiness mode, where you walk around pretending that you're happy the whole time. And really, the part in the mind is going, I hate this fucking smile, and I hate these fucking people, right? Yeah. So you go to the shop with the noisy mind, and everything is a drag, and you know you go out of the shop feeling like you had a horrible time. And then with the silent mind, you go into the shop, and you do everything that you would normally do, like with the noisy mind. You pick up the same items, or maybe slightly different items, but pretty much the same, right? You will bump into the same people, but your mind is quiet. So instead of having the internal dialogue that's like judging everyone around you, or feeling inferior or superior to other people, or concerned about whether you've got enough things, or too many things, or I don't know what people think about in the shops, to be honest, or thinking about what they're going to be doing later. You're just there. You pick up your things that you want, that you need, that you're looking forward to having, whatever. You may or may not talk to whoever's there, but you're not thinking of anything, and you're just being there. And you know, your sense of sight does not suddenly shut off just because your mind's stopped. Your sense of feeling doesn't shut off just because your mind stopped. You know, you feel alive, you feel present, you're listening to people, you're there, you're actually there now. Before you weren't there at all, you were drifting away in thoughts and stuff. So it's weird because it's both a sense of aliveness and deadness, because the mind feels kind of dead in a way, dead in terms of like dead quiet, like it's just silent. So that little voice is dead. That little voice just doesn't have anything to say anymore, or very little to say. So it's just like, it doesn't say anything anymore. And yet you also have a sense of, I'm more alive than I've ever been, and I'm more aware than I've ever been, and I'm more alert than I've ever been, and I'm more available than I've ever been as well. Like, I'm more open. So with the silent mind, you're actually able to listen to other people now, because you're not listening to your thoughts anymore. You're not kind of concentrated in your head space. You're concentrated more outwardly. So you're concentrated kind of, you've got some thoughts in your head, and you've got feelings in your body, but you're also there to receive what other people are doing and see and saying, and what other people are up to. So you become more observant to other people, you notice other people's behavior, and you're also available to them for conversation, for if they need something. You know, you can be there to do something or make a joke or whatever, because you're actually there watching what's going on, observing what's going on, and at the same time you're still in connectedness with your own inner feelings at the same time. So it's really so much nicer to have the quiet mind. And I think part of me was holding on to some little dregs of the resentful mind. So I felt like resentment was funny in a way. So there's still a little part of me that that finds taking the piss out of people or having a backhanded comment in the mind, like like that's what you think, or some little snarky comment is quite often coming to me in the head, because part of me finds those comments funny and it keeps me entertained to have judgments in my head. But other than that, it's pretty quiet. So I think I'd like to kind of let go of those snarky comments as well, even because even those are slightly like, oh, okay, give it a rest now. You know, I've had enough of those little tiny minor resentments in there. And yeah, so it's just, I just thought it was a great teaching tool to say, look, you may well be operating your life as though you have the hard drive of your mind is really loud and clunky and annoying. And if you can just replace that with the hard drive in your mind that does everything the same, right? You still achieve everything you want to achieve. In fact, you achieve it better because you actually have more clarity in your mind, for one thing. And there's a silent smoothness to your mind instead of this loud, clunky, lots of activity all the time, always thinking about stuff. I couldn't understand the laptop. I was thinking, what do you have to think about, mate? Like, you're not connected to the internet, right? This laptop was noisy 100% of the time. It never stopped. Okay, and you turn it off and you go, oh, thank fuck for that. But it was noisy the rest of the time. Whenever it was on, it was going, and it was like someone's brain, you know, constantly thinking. And I've only really realised the full extent of that today, now that I've stuck the quiet one in, because it's just silent. And I'm not going, well, I'd normally be getting annoyed at it by now. Why is it? It's not annoying me. I see. Well, I have to think of other things to get annoyed at instead. Yeah, so so that's in there. And so yeah, as a teaching thing, your mind is most likely a little bit more like the clunky one than the silent one. So as I was saying, yeah, so you will still get everything done that you need to do. So I think if you're ever afraid of losing your mind, you don't actually lose the good qualities of your mind. You don't lose anything when it goes quiet. Okay, you don't lose anything that's necessary. Everything that's necessary stays. What you lose is all the stuff that is getting in your way. Actually, all the excess thinking is what goes away when you let it go, basically, and you introduce awareness to thinking, and the more awareness you introduce to thinking over time, from, in my case, a long period of time, it's been about 5 years that I've been consistently bringing awareness to thinking, that I know that I'm doing it consciously. I mean, I started doing this actually when I was 18, but I thought I was doing this awareness exercise, but I really wasn't at that time. I was just doing more and more thinking on top of thinking. I was thinking about thinking. But awareness is a different thing to thinking. It's not like it's the silence. It's the silence of the mind that the thinking mind is actually talking to. So your thinking mind is talking to this silent, receptive quietness, which is what you are. Your true beingness is the silence, listening. It's not only listening; it's active as well. So it's listening and active at the same time. Responsive is a good word to use. Sorry. Yeah. So, ooh, there you go. Yeah. So your mind is most likely like the annoying hard drive, and the way you get it to become the silent mind is, as I was saying, over a period of time, you just become aware, consistently become aware of the fact, oh, my mind's really noisy right now. Whoa, okay. Ooh, shit, I didn't even realise. You know, I was always caught up in it. And the sensation of detaching from that is, it feels like stepping back. It feels like a pulling back more into the body. So you almost imagine like the mind itself is now in front of you, whereas before you were inside it. So you pull your sense of self back and you allow the mind to carry on, right? But you are in a further back position watching it. So you become more and more synchronized into that feeling of being in the centered place. Because every time you step back, you're stepping back into your true nature, into your true self, which is the observer, the active, responsive observer. And so you've got this thinking going on that then you, as a being, consciously can decide what you're going to do about. So you can then influence what you're going to do about your thinking. So it could be like, I'm going to ignore it, or I'm going to try and quieten it down, or I'm going to make it louder until it can't get any louder at all, and then it finishes, whatever. I don't know. Or you can just sit there and watch it and just don't do anything, but just watch it like you would be listening to someone who was loud and annoying sat next to you, and there was nothing else you could do because you're trapped in by straps in a chair. Yeah. And so you gradually bring awareness to these thoughts, and over time, as you separate back into being awareness instead, your thoughts, they kind of like run their course, and you can do other things as well to actually get them to run their course. For example, you can do expressive talking, expressive writing, expressive drawing, activity. So whenever you feel like your mind is agitated, you can pick up a soothing activity or go for a run. You know, anything that helps to diffuse the energy of the mind outwardly and like release it into the universe, kind of thing, or to get it to come to a stop. Personally, just me at the moment, I don't like seated meditations. I don't really do those. I do it occasionally, but maybe I should do more of those. Like maybe I should go deeper, because I think I touch into a deeper fear when I do these deeper meditations, which is like my body really starts to vibrate in a way that scares me. It kind of almost feels like I'm actually dying if I do a meditation. So I don't know. It's too intense at the moment. I might get back to it later. Yeah, but I don't feel I need to either. I feel like most of the time I'm constantly in the state of awareness. So I think the seated meditation would be a deepening exercise, and actually at the moment I find it too intense, so I would rather not, and I might do it later instead. So there's a little bit of teaching, which came from the fact that I got a new laptop thingy, hard drive. So now let's get on to the actual story time bit. So we'll see, this is one of the exercises that I'm doing to finish off these bits of excess thinking that are in my head. Well, I can't remember where we got to in the story. I know that I soaked the book in the sink. I'm going to drink a glass of wine. Fuck's sake. Maybe I'm going to have to drink a glass of wine to get through this. Oh, another thing as well, actually. When I first started doing these video things, right, I felt like to be in the centered place felt out of control for me, because the mind wasn't in control anymore, and the mind was so used to being in control of what I did and said. Like it would always have the pre-planned aspect. You know, I'd always have it pre-planned as to what I was going to say next. So there was a sort of moving between thinking and awareness. So I'd think for a bit, what am I going to say next? And then I'd say it. Now it's like, I'm saying it as me. I'm not saying it from thinking. I'm saying it as awareness. I'm saying it as just the me-ness of me, the who I amness of me, the amness of I, the I-ness of am, just whoever. So it doesn't feel like, it feels like I made a transition basically. And I think this is the transition that we are all If you're in on a spiritual path, this is the transition that we're trying to achieve. Is oh, is that good or bad? I don't know. There's certainly some tasting going on. Oh yes. Yeah. Originally, I felt like this persona, if you like, was I felt like it was the true me, but also I had, what do you call it? Like delineated it, defined it. I defined what this was. So I thought that to be Fieros was to be and fun and jumpy and weird and stuff and zany. I thought that's what it was, but that's not what it is. That's an expression of it. That's an expression of my true self. But Fieros, initially, I thought that I had to be that way in order to be my true self. So that's like taking a definition of who I am, and then it's putting it into a role, basically. So my true self was animating a role, and then I thought that the role was my true self, but the true self is not the role. The true self doesn't have a definition. The true self is like more of a feeling of constancy, just constantly here, constantly being, constantly present, constantly awake, constantly aware, just continuousness, sense of ongoingness, even, or flow. You could call it flow. Flow is quite a good way to say it, but it's a continuous flow. So what we think of sometimes as flow is that flow has a beginning and an end point, doesn't it? So you might think, I'm really in the flow, but being constantly present is, well, there's no sense of being in the flow anymore, because you are always in the flow. So there's nothing to contrast it with, like, I'm not in the flow anymore. You're always in the flow. Like you've managed to work it so that your feeling is that you are continuously, consistently, always flowing with the life, flowing with life. So you just have relaxed finally to just go with it, whatever it is, just be continuously going with it. So that you don't have a sense of, sometimes I'm in the flow and sometimes I'm not in the flow. You're always in the flow. You're always in the zone. Like to be in the zone indicates a higher level of something, doesn't it? I'm in the zone. But then you synchronize your natural state to be in that same kind of zone feeling. So all it means is you're constantly alert, constantly aware, constantly bringing yourself to the table, if you like. So you're constantly, some people might say it's passion, constantly passionate, or constantly connected. So I'm constantly connected with who I am at all times. Connected, but that sounds like there's a separation. It's weird because there is a sense of, or something that's being observed and something that is observing. So there is a sense of, there's the me, and then there's the feeling, or there's the awareness, and then there's the sight. There's the awareness, and then there's the sensation of what I'm drinking. But there's also part of it's like it's all one thing. It's all one thing. So you can say it in two ways. You can say, like, I'm connected to my body, and then there's another way that is equally true, which is I am my body, and I don't see a difference between myself and my body. I am this room. I don't see a difference between myself and this room. And then you can change your perspective of it slightly and say, I'm aware that there's the room and here I am. And it's like you move between those depending on what you need to do, basically. Because it's very hard to lift up a glass if you say, I am the glass, therefore I can move myself to my face. I'm moving my glass face to my face, whatever. Whatever, I'm getting too technical. Yeah, so I thought that to be here in Fieros mode was a certain way. The fun dancing around thing, which is still part of it. But as I say, it's more of a it's one particular character or one particular expression of who I am. And also, I was going to say that originally I felt like I was different off camera to when I was on camera, and now the sense is it's just continuous. As I said before, it's just continuous. So there's no difference in my personal character or my personal expression between when I'm on the camera and off the camera. So it's weird actually, because there was one video recently where I was doing a thing in my bedroom and the pizza guy came, and I thought it was kind of bizarre because I went down and was talking to the pizza guy in the same way that I would talk to you on video. So I realised I am this. There's no difference between me on camera and me off camera. And it's not just because of that one incident, you know, it's just the way I am with my friends, the way I am with my parents, the way I am with anyone, really. I'm consistently present and I'm consistently self-expressive as well. You know, I don't feel a need to pretend anymore, I suppose, is one thing. There are some instances where I feel more contracted, like I feel more reserved in some situations, but I don't feel any less present, if that makes sense. So I feel like my body contracting a little bit around certain people, but I don't lose any awareness. I don't lose any sense of presence. It's like I'm still connected to that feeling. That's just a new feeling that comes along. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's a sort of celebration moment, really. Like I put this new hard drive in my computer and realised, oh, I'm enlightened. I actually am enlightened though, and I don't have to bullshit about it anymore. Like I actually have reached this ongoing sensation of a still mind, and also of detachment from all forms. So I feel like all things I bring myself to all things as they arise. I bring myself to everything as it comes along. You know, as in like I'm constantly present. Basically, I am constantly aware. I am constantly in touch with life, constantly, and I do not perceive a break in that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad that laptop thing has shut up. I took it out, right? So this noisy one, I took it out and I looked at it, I was like, you're a little motherfucker, you are. And I thought, you are going to go have a rest over there. And I felt like going like this with it. Bang, 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 you fucking loud bang, 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 bang thing. And I went, you will go over there now. I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but you will go there, for you have been loud and annoying for 6 months or more of my life. And slow. Yeah. I'm enlightened now. I don't need your shit round here, you noisy bastard. Yeah. I'm enlightened, yeah. Come on. Oh man. What else? Come on then. Let's talk some real negative shit and go straight out of being enlightened instead and turn into a wreck. So, I was a fucking bastard when I came back from America. I was a bastard to my parents, according to them. According to me, they were bastards to me. Let me just tell you some of the things I did. No, let's read some of this, because this is that thing that I did from before. This is some excerpts, if I'm saying that word correctly. Whatever. Okay, so I read a bit before, This is stuff I wrote in 2010, which is about the period in my life in the past, which in a way I feel like it doesn't actually exist, but it's just some stuff that happened that is now just memories, basically. But I'm going to read it anyway because it is important. Because the thing with this stuff is, right, the past, in reference to the present, the past occurs in the present. Oh, Lord. The past occurs in the present. So I'm here in the present, the ongoing, continuous present, and my past occurs to me as memories and feelings, basically. So I have a memory, and it has a feeling associated with the memory, but I observe that, and I'm aware of that, and feel that, and see those memories in the present, right? So the past occurs in the present, because as you live your life, as you go through life, you're in the present, and then you have to remember the past, don't you? The past only ever occurs when you start thinking about stuff from the past. You start remembering things, or you start commenting on things, and there's like a trace. There's always a trace for every event that is recorded in your mind as a memory, and oftentimes not just as a thinking memory or an imagery memory, but with a feeling, or a set of feelings, of physical feelings and emotional feelings, all coded in there. So when you go through particularly difficult present moment experiences where the emotions are high, or there's a lot of thinking activity, and there's a lot of trauma going on in the outside world, as you're going through life in the present moment and you're the observer and you're witnessing things, and your witnessing capability becomes overwhelmed basically by big things happening in front of your awareness, like big events happening, big feelings happening, big loads of thinkings happening and stuff, right? So just so much that your awareness gets overcrowded and you become traumatized. Basically, your physical body gets fucked by too much emotion and too much physical stimulation, or too much even physical abuse, it could be, or physical harm, physical pain. So that's creating a really big memory, like, that's being encoded into your whole system. So that if you don't process those experiences immediately afterwards, then you have to do it consciously at a later date, basically. So you will find that traumas from the past will make themselves known to you somehow. That stuff that you thought was buried will always be trying to surface somehow. So eventually, if you go through too many traumas, even if they're small, or too many stresses, then your system gets overloaded, and then your past catches up with you, kind of thing. Not that you're necessarily running from your past, but there's your accumulation of your past catches up with you to the present and becomes present again. So, like, the reason I'm saying this is because I've noticed that the more I consciously face my past and consciously process my past, like, I've been doing this for over 5 years, but concentratedly for around 5 years, where I consciously go to difficult memories, traumatic memories, difficult experiences, or even just big experiences, not necessarily traumatic, but experiences that had a high feeling content to them. So like relationships, the good parts of relationships, the bad parts of relationships, that's a big one. Money situations, living situations, past, basically. And I've been consciously going to the past and telling my story, whether it be written or in videos, or drawing aspects of my story on the page, or painting about it, whatever. And what I am finding after all this time of doing it is that what I have done basically is I have cleared out my past. Pretty much. Not totally, but pretty much. And that means that my present is a lot more clear, it's a lot more flowing, and I should say something as well, that the reason to do this for me personally was because the past had caught up with me, in that it had just my whole body and mind and emotions was just gammed up with unprocessed memories and feelings and thoughts, and that had accumulated in cigarette smoking as well. So my physical body was wrecked, my emotional system was fucked, my mind was jabbering. What else did I say? Physical, mind, emotions, whatever. Everything was, and my life situation had also ground to a halt. You know, like nothing was working anymore. Like relationships weren't working anymore, and my money situation was really stressing me out because I was poor and I couldn't move my job situation forward either. So essentially, the past accumulation of trauma and of just everyday experience that was unprocessed, and big experiences, you know, just kind of dragged me in my life to a halt. And I had to go back and start picking through these past things. I did some of it in therapy, with a couple of different therapists, three different therapists, where I just started, you just kind of turn over things. You just pick up the little rock from the past, basically, in your mind, in your psyche. You pick up a little rock from your past and you look at it and you talk about it, and you may cry about it, or you may get angry or feel something about it. And then kind of, that's that one. And then that one sort of dissolves down. You still remember it if you want to, but most likely you don't need to anymore. It's not like I want to just try and. I think people have the feeling that they don't want to lose their memories and stuff, because memories are important, and they have there's a sense of meaning that we get from memories, right? So we don't. I don't think there's. I just want to basically put your fears to rest, that you don't lose your memory. What you do is you take out the emotional charge from the memory so that it doesn't hurt you anymore. But you still have the memory, and in fact the memory becomes more enjoyable, actually, now that I think of it, because the way that you experience the memory becomes clearer, and it's no longer bothering. It's not a bothering memory, and the emotional charge is gone from it, so it's more like you become an observer or a witness to that, and you can even enjoy certain aspects of it, where you may not have been able to before because it was traumatic. So you may see different things that were in a traumatic experience. You might take a lesson from it, for example, or you might see the beauty of it, or you might see how that led on to something that was better, for example, or how it shaped you or helped you to make this different decision. So yeah, I wanted to just say that if you're worried that you might be meddling with your memories by going back to them, well, it's not the case. That reviewing your memories from the past consciously, I mean, you have to do it kind of consciously. You have to sort of say, I am going to look at my past now, and I am going to delve into myself, really, and I'm going to see what's there, and I'm going to pick these things up, and I'm going to look at them, and I'm going to listen to what happened. I'm going to feel that experience, and eventually, after doing that, you kind of pick it up, you look at it, and you let it go over and over and over again with loads of different ones. Because each thought and each memory and each past experience that's unprocessed, when it is processed, it's like it releases something. It lets you free. It sets you free, and that's like a releasing of baggage from the shoulders or from the chest or from wherever, from the body. So each time you let go of these little pieces of your past story in the present, your present becomes more expansive. Your present becomes more light and open and free. And yeah, I really feel that coming along. It's been a long time coming. Like, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, this happened overnight. It really didn't happen overnight. Okay, this has been a long process to get to where I am right now, which is where I live more in the present than in the past or the future. The future seems more open now. The future seems open because the past has been more or less, more than not, dealt with. There's still some stuff there, right? And because if you're too weighed down in the past, then your future is not getting enough airtime. Do you see what I mean? Like if your past is weighty and heavy, then your present is weighty and heavy, and you need to pop some of that shit out from the past to open up your present, which then leads on to the opening into the future as to, well, now I can see where I am more clearly, because where I was is no longer clouding where I am or who I am or how I am. Yeah. Now I can see where I want to go more clearly and who I want to be or how I want to be or whatever it is, whatever future you're thinking about. So for me, the future is starting to feel like, these issues that I had before about moving forward, because I've tackled where they came from. Like the issue started somewhere in the past. So pop some of that shit open. And then it frees you here, and it frees you to look into the future. Let's drink some more wine. I feel like I got drunk on like that much. So let's have another look. Oh man. So I told you about the dictaphone thing. I thought this would revolutionize family communication because you could leave voice messages for people, which would include the added value of being able to hear the tone of voice of the person recording it. Man, who cares? Thus giving it an emotional edge, wow, over just a plainly written note. God knows how or why I came up with that. I was full of ingenious but pretty useless ideas like this during that time. I spent pretty much all of my time coming up with new ideas for things I could do, and then writing them down in one of my many little books. Marvelous. Everything made sense to me at that time, and now it doesn't make any sense to me. Woe is me, I'm so depressed. I was really depressed when I wrote this, by the way. And confused, really confused. I was confused about, so if I was insane, then what am I now? Like, did any of that make any sense? And what's the difference between what being then and being now? And like, am I still insane? Like, which parts are the sane parts, which parts are the insane parts? Couldn't make sense of it. Everything I did was full of purpose and meaning, and I absolutely knew what I was doing all the time. Sounds alright to me. Do you see what I mean about the fun aspect of it? It was a highly creative time for me. Although I did not actually produce very much in the way of works. A lot of journal entries, some cartoons, some small pictures. In brackets. That does sound like a lot of works, to be fair. I was constantly coming up with new ideas about cool things to do. I was loving every minute of it. That may be a bit strong. I don't think I was loving every minute of it. I was loving a lot of it. I was enjoying a lot of it. Let's use that as a point to talk about. So, in my room, when I was back from America, in my room, I had a couple of shelves. I had my recording computer. I had my TV. Did I have a TV? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Oh man. Basically, I had this sense of unbridled freedom to do whatever I wanted to do for the first time, and that I was no longer bound by any social requirements or job hunting requirements or anything like that. So what that meant was I saw the room, the whole room that I was in, wherever it was, but specifically my room, as full of information, basically, full of information, full of intrigue, full of curiosity. So, for example, in here, right? If I was back in that mode of thinking, I could see everything in here as something to mess about with, basically. So I could like make statues out of these things, because I realised that there's nothing to stop me from doing it, so why don't I fucking do it? Ooh. And I would be that's pretty cool actually. And I would do stuff like this just because it was fun. And I'd be like, oh, what else can I do? I can make a wicked thing like that. Oh yeah, let's put the glasses there. Oh, I've lost it. Right, so that's an enclosure. So so I was being like a mad artist kind of person. That does actually look quite cool though. Well, that's what I think. Let's put this on here as well. Ooh. And this is also red, so let's put the red in there. Red thing. So it's red, and now it's like it's looking at that. Let's put this on there as well, like that, so it's got different, that thing there, so that's quite cool as well. And then maybe we should turn it round so that it's more like that. No, I don't like it like that, let's do it this way. So it's like becoming more symmetrical, you know. It's more symmetrical, like, yeah. Now we can make it more symmetrical by turning this around as well. It's more symmetrical like that, yeah. It's like two things there, like that, isn't it? It's sort of like that, and then like, oh, metal thing, yeah. That's got red on it. That can go there like that. Well, that doesn't look great, but oh, more red thing. Any more red things? No more red things. Ah, it's a pen. But it's not very symmetrical, so it's not artistic if it's not symmetrical. Let's try and put the pen there like that. Rest the pen on there. No. Oh yeah. So that's there like that. And it's very, and that's like, that is life. You know, that is life right there. That's the symmetry of life, that is. Try and get it so it actually looks symmetrical. See, I don't even know what that looks like now. Probably a penis. Let's put my penis in it. Not my actual penis, of course. Oh no, a disaster has happened. Oh. So I would do stuff like that and just find it incredibly intriguing to do things like that, basically. And no one understood it at all. But for me, it was just like, well, there's no rule saying you can't do that. So why not do it? Because it's fun and interesting. And I would be looking at symmetry and trying to get things to have a sense of meaning to them as well. So I made like little, not diorama, what's a good word to use? Like a kind of like displays, montage, installation. Call it an installation, but that's a bit grand. But like just sort of statue things where I would arrange items in orders like this, just that look cool basically for a brief period, and then I'd do them in a different way. So it's just making little kind of arty things like that. But for me, it was more than just arty. It was a way of experiencing something more, because the symmetry for me would lead me into a way of it was like I could feel God coming through things when I was doing things with symmetry. If you could intensify the symmetry and lots of different objects in a symmetrical kind of way, then when you looked at it, it would sort of start to vibrate with more presence somehow. Like it brought out the beauty of all the all the objects, and they stopped looking like objects anymore, and they started looking like something else, a sculpture of some kind. And that was, at that time, I just got a real deep sense of meaning and pleasure from like making these little sculpture things basically out of everyday objects. I did one with pots and pans, and no one ever knew about that. But I don't think anyone knew about most of the things I did. So I just basically really became engrossed in an artistic, metaphorical, spiritual understanding of life. And it felt like God was manifesting to me through these art things that I was doing, these little moving things in a certain way and looking at it and then seeing this beautiful presence vibrating through it, which was amazing to me at the time. I remember I had this little pouch which I nicked from my mum. It was just a little pouch, and it had this. It was a purple pouch. It looked like a little magician's kind of coin pouch thing, and it had purple. It was purple. Maybe it even had some gold kind of stars on it or something. I don't know. It looked like a magician's purse, and I put some. Oh God, was it like a gold chain in it? And it just looked really nice. It looked really magical, and that was intriguing me for ages. So I could be intrigued by the beauty of things, and the richness of things very easily. Oh. And it's a shame, really, because that's the sort of thing that people would tell me was insane. Like, oh, why are you doing that with that? And I'm like, well, if you knew how I was experiencing it, then you'd be doing it too. You know. Yeah, what else? I did lots of disruptive things to my family. So not only the book wetting incident, that was not the only one. I hid the keyboards from the computers to stop them using the computers, because they were all always using the computers instead of interacting with each other. So it was my way of trying to get, I suppose it was my way of trying to get attention, actually, but also to try and bring about family unity. And then my feeling about that now is, well, why did I think that was my place to do that? You know, but there was a sense of superiority, certainly. There's a sense of spiritual, moral superiority, because I knew these things now and I'd read these books, that it was therefore my mission. You know, I became like this spiritual missionary to try and basically show other people and tell other people and push other people into understanding what I supposedly understood. You know, I don't think that I interpreted the spiritual writings quite correctly, or certainly didn't apply them particularly well to other people. I basically became a bit bolshy, really, if you look at what I did and what I was saying. I became like a born-again Christian who just won't leave you alone and is always trying to convert you. That's what I became like. Which I can understand from my parents' point of view would have been incredibly disruptive to their normal living stuff. And then on the flip side of it, I was having genuine, deep spiritual experiences. So it's weird, because there was two aspects to it. There was the kind of real communing with God aspect that I was experiencing, and then there was my methodology of trying to share this with other people was really disruptive. Yeah. I feel like my brain is about to get overloaded, so I'm going to stop. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.